Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day today, whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, or hell, overnight. I'm glad you're here. While you're here, if you would, please hit the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon. It helps me out, helps other people see my videos, and it notifies you when I release new content or have a random live stream, something like that. Today I'm going to give a long-term review of a knife I bet a lot of you have not been exposed to. It is a unique knife that I ran across on White Mountain Knives. Did a little research on it. It has a new patented lock style. It is the Steel Will Tasso. So the Steel Will Tasso is a very unique little package. And that doesn't mean I love it. That doesn't even mean I like it, but we'll get to that. So I picked this knife up right about 6-7 months ago. I think I did an unboxing, maybe a little overview on it. But I carried it, I used it, I've cut many things with it. I put an edge on it that's very slicey. Let's see if it's still slicey because I've cut a lot after put an edge on it. Let's see. Oh yeah. And we could talk about that when we get to what we're looking at here. But this is my 17-degree edge. And after I put it on, I processed a ton of cardboard, have cut a lot of paper, and that gives me a little bit of confidence that the heat treat on this particular knife might be on point. Because guys, the Steel Will Tasso, besides having a unique, brand new patented locking system, the AntLock, it is a G10. And when I say G10, I mean G10. So if you can get a look, if this will focus on the G10, you can see that it's very textured and contoured. Has a G10 backspacer. This steel right here is part of the AntLock that we'll look at shortly. The G10 is nice, but what you'll notice, let me get my flashlight. You see anything missing in there? There's definitely weight relief, but the way this knife was designed with this lock, with the weight relief, is there are no steel liners in here, guys. There are no liners at all in here. It is standoffs. It is the AntLock mechanism married into the back spacer. It is these body screws and the stop pin, and it's held together by T8s, T8 pivot, and the AntLock looks almost like it'd be a bar lock. When I saw it on White Mountain Knives and started getting curious about it, I was like, well, that just looks like an axis lock. I didn't see that picture of it. To me, and again, you guys know me, I'm a hack. I don't know a lot of the knife history. I don't know a lot of the knife mechanics. But this reminded me of kind of a locking mechanism that might be a modern version of a lockback. Because what happens is, to disengage this lock, which you push up on the AntLock. So instead of pulling back, I push up. And if you look here, when I push up, it breaks that lock right there. See that? And it allows me to close the lock. Locks up. I feel like we have to whack everything now in the name of science. But yeah, I can swing it shut. I can middle finger flick it. I failed at that time because I said I could middle finger flick it. Thumb flick it. God damn it. Excuse my language, guys. I hate when I fail a flick on camera just because I'm under about a 7-inch, 8-inch space here and I'm not making excuses, I just suck at middle finger flicking washer knives, which takes me back to the Steel Will Tasso. It is G10, no steel liners, M390 blade. And this is not a cheap knife, guys. For a G10, when I saw this at White Mountain Knives and I started looking at it, I was like, okay, that looks like a budget knife to me, which it does. But the Satin M390 blade, the AntLock, which is again patented, and the super high quality G10 sculpted handles and this linerless construction really make for a unique knife. It's very light. I have not put it through serious hard use to see how much torture it can take. I would think that there would have to be some type of weakness by not having those steel liners. But again, guys, with the lock, with the way it's sandwiched by the pivot and the washers, it may be just as sturdy as a steel liner lock model. But again, I don't know. I have not tested the lock for its resilience. I've not tested it to see how much pounds it can hold. Those are for other channels. But I really wanted to share with you guys the Steel Will Tasso because it wasn't anything that I'd ever been exposed to. Let's get a little information. I'll tell you what we'll do first. We'll just do a couple of quick size comparisons before we break out our Ben Banner's NAFCO ruler. Maybe we won't even need it because we can get a good enough idea, if y'all agree with me. So we'll look at it next to the Cold Steel 4MAX. Much smaller than the Cold Steel 4MAX. Those pivots up. Now let's take a look at it next to the Civivi Baby Banter. It's a good bit bigger than the Baby Banter. Now let's look at it next to the Benchmade Bug Out. And that's the one that I thought it was going to be really about the same size as. So when you look at what we're working with here, we're working with a 3-inch blade, about 4'10", 4'8" on the handle. Overall length, I am going to guess it's about 7 inches, 7 1/4, something like that. It is a 3/4 flat grind, has a nice rounded blade here, nice swedge coming down on this Bowie-style clip point. Has a little bit of jimping here that actually is very effective. It's got a lot of traction. It catches me right in that grip. If I use the choke up grip here, I don't really have any jimping up top, but if I choked up, would I really need it, or would I be doing more detail cuts? Because this is what I would consider a medium knife. I take that from Christine Women's Carry Knives, a small medium knife. So in my medium to large size hand, I can get a full 4-finger grip, and it actually locks my hand in perfectly in that conventional handle. If I choke up, I can use that sharpening choil as a full finger choil for me. Do have to rotate it up a little bit more for those utility cuts, but for breaking down cardboard, even though it doesn't have blade geometry, I've got knives, let's say, that have better blade geometry. But this ripped through cardboard and the edge did not degrade, and that's kind of excites me because when I sharpened it, it felt good under the stones. I started with 140 Atomi on my TS Prof 360, and then I went with an F80 Veneve Scorpion Stone, then an F120, and finished off with an F250. I think that's around 600 grit. I don't know, guys. All I know is it makes it slicey. Nice little knife. The pocket clip is kind of jank. I don't know if this is titanium or steel, and I don't have a magnet close to me. I don't see one, but it's pretty tight. I think it's kind of a fail. I think for a knife of this price, even if it is just G10, do a pocket clip that's a little more functional, that's not so tight, and that doesn't have that super loop-de-doo that comes up. Again, it's not deep carry. It's just a pocket clip, you know, so don't really like the pocket clip. Not crazy about the blue G10 backspacer, but that's okay. The AntLock, jury's out, guys. I can't get it to fail, but I don't see, yes, it's new. Yes, it's a little revolutionary. I would love somebody like Jared Neves or Stasa23 or somebody who knows about how knives work to tell me what they think about this little lock, and I'll look and do some YouTube searches on some videos to see if I can find, see it talking, hello. But anyway, when I pop that up, it unlocks, and now it's fully locked up. The designer of this particular knife and the lock too is a fella, and I'm going to mispronounce his name, but it is Anton, first name's no problem, Kanchenko, and that's spelled starting with a T. So it could be Kanchenko or Kanchiko, I don't know. But the blade is branded with Steel Will on one side, TAS 30 or 30, which I think is the model number of the knife, designed, no, that's just, I'm sorry, that is Tachenko design, M390, and then it's got a serial number or a model number there. I don't know if they made a limited number of these, but for a light knife, you know, is it a favorite? No. Am I going to sell it? Maybe. Am I going to just forward it on? Probably not, because I do have a lot of money sunk into this knife. I got this knife long before I ever thought about doing a YouTube channel, but I find it interesting because, again, it's on washers, guys. That's why it is more apt to fail than if I'm just flicking it. It's just a little tighter there with those washers, and I might have the blade a little tight. Let's see if this is a T8. So I can reverse finger flick it, middle finger flick it, thumb stud it, slow roll it. But it's a good looking knife, I'll give that for it. It is kind of a light knife, but it being thick as fuck kind of takes that away. The clip, I think, is kind of a hard fail. It doesn't necessarily have to be deep carry, but that just looks cheap on a $150 knife. I mean, come on, really? But anyway, I don't have a lot of experience with Steel Will. The thumb studs are Devo hats. Y'all probably, that's a reference that dates my age. I don't know if y'all remember Devo, Whip It Good. But again, one thing they got, I think, pretty darn right is this plunge grind here and the sharpening choil. So as you can see, the plunge terminates right in there, which gives me a good bit of steel that I can take off this knife. And like I said, I've given it one sharpening. I did not lay the edge back. I just followed the factory right around 19, and it's super sticky. It cuts, it carries, even though I have to jam it in my pocket. Would I recommend it to you guys? Like on every other video, I was like, I love this knife, I'd recommend it. No, I would not recommend it. I do not think the lock is that smooth. Not that that's a determinant for a lot of people, but for me, I do like to have good action in my knives. Maybe over time these washers will break in a little more. I have not taken it apart. I have not polished the washers. Don't really want to, because the knife just doesn't really speak to me once I got it. It's cool. It slices. It's got quality materials. It's doesn't have liners. It's got this wacky AntLock. Why would you name it an AntLock? And it's interesting, you know, so I like interesting things. So I don't feel like I'm out $100, well, it was $159.99. I put in Lefty 10, the code that I typically use, and I think I got it for $143, which is probably, in my mind, maybe $100 too much if it wasn't M390. I know the M390 drives the price a little bit, but I'd be just as happy with the knife, as unimpressive as this, if it was in 14C, if it was in D2, and just sell it to me for 43 bucks. Would I have bought it at that price? Probably not, because I found it at a price point that was kind of an easy reach for me, and it was a little bit different knife, so I figured, why not? You know, let's give it a shout. Let's give it a try. And I did. I thought the first impressions were really, really good. As I started to carry it and started to use it from day to day, I found it a little bit clunky. I find that it is kind of hard on the pockets because of that clip. And these little ant studs are very similar to the Devo hat studs on the flipper, but they're sharp. They're kind of pokey. So every time I go to disengage this lock, which has a little bit of light stick, which I think might just be part of the mechanics of the lock when you're disengaging it. You can feel it or hear it. I don't know if y'all can hear it. Y'all probably can't. Makes just a little ticking sound. But anyway, guys, I'm not going to waste any more time with the Steel Will Tasso designed by Anton Kachenko. It's a unique knife if you're looking for something totally different and you want to try out a lock that you probably hadn't tried out and get a knife that's a little bit uninspired, maybe. But if you were asking me, John, would you recommend this knife? I'd say no, there are better knives out there. It's cool. I like when people innovate. I'm not going to crap on the knife because it does cut well. It did hold an edge very well. The steel and heat treat seems on point. The ergos are good. The clip sucks. It's a hot spot. The studs kind of suck. For me, again, this is subjective. So I give it kind of a thumbs down. But most importantly, thank you guys for coming by and sitting through it, taking a look at it, checking it out, and visiting my channel. You guys have supported me as long as I've been in the community, even before I thought about having a channel. I consider you friends, family. I love you all. And I always ask, please look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Continue to look out for each other. I love you all. Remember, choose debate over hate. Peace.